Hey, Peter.
Hey, Adam.
Why is every computer in our office like a Dell PC from '98?
Ooh, man, remember Windows 98? That was my jam.
Ooh. I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Coming at you with a very special episode because today we are streaming live on the old Facebooks, the Book of Faces.
We're screaming live or streaming live?
We're going to do both.
We're going to go from the mountaintops because it's This Week in Jazz live.
Right. I don't know what that means, but that's exactly right. We have some friends already on here. Joe Mascara.
What's up, Joe?
The wonderful Anita Jackson. We have my mother-in-law, Sarah Paige McCorkle,
nice.
on here.
Hello, mother-in-law. What's up, moms?
Yeah. And so we're going to be taking your questions live and then airing this later on the podcast. We thought we'd just experiment and try to reach our users here.
Well, we're going to air it later because we actually don't know how to directly put it up at the same time. If we could master that, it'd be good.
So out there on Facebook, if you have a question for the You'll Hear It podcast, now's your time.
Right. And you'll be able to jump forwards in time with your question, right? You'll be ahead of the game.
You will. You'll be able to jump forward in time and then get an answer in like a couple weeks.
My mind is blown.
Can everybody hear out there? Good.
Were you talking to the podcast or the Facebook Live?
Both.
Okay, good. Okay, This Week in Jazz.
Okay, This Week in Jazz.
What was happening? I've got something good here. Funny man Adam Sandler pays a visit to the Utah Jazz.
Are we doing another feature on the NBA's Utah Jazz?
I didn't know if it was NBA, but okay, now that I go in closer, I thought maybe he went to like a Utah Jazz club, but it turns out, yes, okay, that one doesn't count. No, we had actually a couple of live events last week of note that would be fun to talk about because, I mean, look, jazz is best consumed and enjoyed and played live. Right?
Yeah, the Bistro All-Stars were live.
Oh, well, that's true. I was thinking of another one, but that's a good one, yeah.
Yeah. That was you and Tia Fuller.
Yes.
Do you remember?
I do remember. Oh, we did 10 sets. It was amazing.
And Sean Jones and Montez Coleman and Jamal Nichols and Warren Wolf.
That's right.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was at the Bistro Jazz St. Louis. Big shout out to our friends over there. And we just had such a fun week. You know, it's always a pleasure and such a honor and blessing and all those good things to be able to play with the same group, especially when it's good player. Look, it's a drag to play night after night with bad players. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
But when they're good, it's a lot of fun. And so that's the kind of group. We actually did this 3 years ago, so it was kind of a reprisal by popular demand, I guess. Some people had asked for it, including us, because we had a good time. And so it's not necessarily like a regular working group. And I don't know if you've ever done these kind of things. I do them very rarely, but there is a little bit of a foundation for rapport because certain combinations have played together a lot. Like I've worked with everybody.
You all know each other.
We all know each other, but not in that configuration.
It's interesting.
But we did it once 3 years ago, so it's amazing how much of that kind of comes back.
Yeah, no, man, it was great. It was seriously a highlight of the young 2019 so far. Just everybody was so killer, and it was fun to have outside our door here, and good vibes all week long.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And one fun thing too is like we all decided to, as opposed to kind of over program the sets, we all just said, well, let's bring in kind of a variety of tunes. We're going to rehearse them, but mostly original tunes. We just sort of did one sort of standard ballad medley. Not standard ballads, standards of ballads, medley each set, or not even each set, each night. But otherwise, it was original tunes, and then we sort of put them together in a way. And Sean Jones was great, and Tia, everybody. But it was like, it wasn't just about, well, I want to have these tunes. It was like, what goes together, what flows good between our different tunes. So that took a little bit of manipulation, but once we hit those kind of possibilities, it was really nice. Yeah,
it's interesting because that's a band full of leaders. That's always an interesting vibe. You know what I mean? Like a band full of band leaders.
Right.
Is cool.
Yep.
Everybody's really cool, man.
Yep.
So back to the This Week in Jazz, the news.
Yep.
But have you ever played in Salt Lake City?
Yes, I have. And I've attended a Utah Jazz game in conjunction with playing a gig there.
Is that true?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And they actually have a nice little jazz scene there.
Man, that's a great town.
Yeah.
That's such a nice, for food too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good stuff. Skiing, food, jazz, and jazz.
All right, so what do you got for jazz news?
Well, this was an interesting thing that crossed my desk, as they say. because this definitely came out in the news and it's about jazz. But I think that this news organization is a little late because it is the title is When Jazz Was a Public Health Crisis. So this, of course, caught my eye. But then the subtitle is, in the 1920s, jazz music was thought to cause physical illness or even disability. And then it's got this great picture, you know, just so that you really know it's the 1920s for sure there.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, this really, I mean, can we file this under breaking news? Probably not. In 1923, the Illinois Supreme Court upheld a ruling shutting down a dance hall that featured jazz music. The opinion shared by many in polite society, dog whistle if I've ever heard one, made clear that jazz was considered not just a mere nuisance, but a danger to health and public safety. The court stated that the music is, and now this is from the court proceeding, is not only disagreeable, but it also wears upon the nervous system and produces that feeling which we call tired. That the subjection of a human being to a continued hearing of loud noises
they're making
tends
this
to
up.
shorten. No, this is real. Tends to shorten life is beyond all doubt.
Come on.
I love this. That like not only it's not enough that they said they don't like jazz. It literally has to be like it causes physical illness and it's even a disability. Now, if this is not the definition of a hater, I don't know what is. Right? Come on, man.
Come on.
And then
man.
they even say it makes you tired. It's like the pre-itis. You know.
The pre-itis.
Yeah, and it wears upon the nervous system. That sounds kind of fun, though. Actually,
To wear upon the
yeah
nervous system.
Yeah, and it shortens your life. So I mean, this just shows how far we've come. Now it's like a respected part of society in the concert halls and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. And this is in the Daily J Store. I don't know what that is, where news meets its scholarly match. So it seems somewhat legitimate. What else did you see that caught your eye?
For our This Week in Jazz, you know, I'm pretty sure that that's all the news in jazz this week.
Oh, but you would be wrong if you thought that. I had another thing. I was just being polite by letting you jump in there.
I've done literally zero research.
Okay. Well, so this is something that I kind of saw and then really caught my eye, and I would have loved to attend up in Chicago, but I had another gig. This is one of those kind of gigs that I would pay to go see for sure. And it was a double bill at the Chicago Symphony Center, they call it, which is formerly Orchestra Hall. They do a great jazz series up there, and I know Chicago's like one of the biggest cities in the world, so I know we have listeners there, but also people traveling through there. I'd highly recommend it. But this double bill last Friday was the Joshua Redman Quartet, kind of a reprisal of one of the classic Joshua Redman quartets with Greg Hutchinson, our friend Greg, our friend Reuben Rogers, and our friend Aaron Goldberg. And then Anat Cohen's wonderful tenet, you know, clarinetist Anat Cohen with that great group that I saw that a few months back at the Monterey Jazz Festival. But apparently I heard from some of the participants and actually someone who was at the show, and they said it was just amazing. And sometimes these kind of double bills are a little bit lame because they're not paired up well. And I have to say not necessarily lame. They're not quite as magical as I think the programmers think they're going to be. And so like I always sort of shy away from going, because I mean, either one of these groups could put on a great full evening of music, you know, Anat or Joshua with their groups, and you'd still want more. So it's a little bit like you're shoving them into half of a show, but apparently it went great, and I think it's because the pairing is kind of complementary with each other. The venue is amazing. They get a great audience, unlike some of these symphony halls that do jazz concerts where it's kind of whack, you know, like with the audience where it's like classical people there that are like, wait, this isn't a symphony, you know. Chicago, they have like a really good, I mean, there's a lot of crossover with the classical audience there, but it's a very well educated and energetic jazz crowd up there.
You know, speaking of Joshua Redman,
yeah,
why don't we talk a little bit about the Grammy nominations?
Yes.
That are pending. I mean, they've been released, but the Grammys are upcoming.
Well, that's This Week in Jazz, going into the future now, because that's Sunday, I believe, this coming Sunday.
Oh, that's right. So some interesting jazz nominations here. First of all, in the, I love this category. What's it called? It's called the
Best Solo?
Best Contemporary Instrumental Album.
So that's Best Smooth Jazz Album. Let's just put it out
well,
there right
so
now,
okay,
right?
so Christian Scott made it in there with the Emancipation Procrastination. The Emancipation Procrastination, and then there's also
but that's not a smooth jazz record. Right?
No, and then there's Julian Lage from Modern Lore, and
I thought it was Lage.
It could be.
No, it's not.
But those are two definitely, and then Marcus Miller, Laid Black. That's definitely in the smooth jazz category.
That's going more smooth jazz, but good smooth jazz.
Yeah, but these
and
are
Steve
all
Gadd too.
Steve Gadd, yeah, these are all that's
a good
Jad.
record.
I think it's Jad.
Steve Jad. I thought it was Steve Gade.
But these are all like jazz tinged artists in that category. And then you can go down and when you see the actual jazz categories, which are like
throwing shade at smooth jazz. I like it.
Well,
not an actual
but
category.
Look, the best improvised jazz solo, that's a Grammy category.
I know. Well, I mean, remember when they expanded things about 10 years ago? So, but isn't still the big one is the best jazz instrumental album? Like that's the
one.
That's the one. And this is Tia Fuller, a Diamond Cup. We played some of her music last week. I think she might be a kind of a favorite because
she's definitely a favorite of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, you know what's great about this? Well, I mean, it's great that she was nominated. She told me that well, I think we talked about it in the episode the other day, actually, was that it's only the second time a woman has been nominated in that category of Best Jazz Instrumental
in
album.
61 years.
In 61 years.
Incredible.
So that's, I mean, think about all the people that were great artists that were overlooked during that time. I mean, Mary Lou Williams jumps out immediately in my mind, but many others. So that's great that she's in there, but it's too bad it's only the second, but hopefully the kind of a nice string is coming up. But I mean, this is, look, Wayne Shorter Quartet.
That's a stacked category.
Yeah,
you got Fred Hirsch Trio, Brad Mehldau Trio, Josh Redman, Ron Miles, Scott Colley, and Brian Blade, and the Wayne Shorter Quartet.
Yeah, and that Josh Redman, you know, that quartet is a real cooperative thing with that Still Dreaming. That's an amazing band and a great record. But Tia's record's great. The Brad record, I haven't really checked that. Have you checked that one out? I need to get on that one.
Haven't heard that one yet, actually. Maybe we should do a little analysis of that later.
Yeah, or introduction, as it would be. The Fred Trio, that's a great record. We've gone over some of that stuff with our friend Brian Fielding, but and then the Wayne, of course. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. And then the best vocal jazz album, I think this kind of you know, has been a little bit of a trend recently where it's so tried and true, and there's not a lot of new blood in there. I would say Cecile Salvant is sort of the new blood, although she's been nominated and maybe won already, hasn't she? I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't even consider her that much, you know, up and coming. Kate McGarry, she's great.
That's a good album. I checked that out a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't heard that
Gary
one.
Versace fan. Tasteful.
Gary Versace. No, he is actually Versace.
Is it really?
Yeah. Versace is the other guy, but Raul Midon, always great, and that's a cool record with those great Vince Mendoza arrangements on there. I actually saw that live too. Freddie Cole, always great, you know, of course. Kurt Elling, that's a cool record. So yeah, I mean that's good stuff. Look, you got the right people in there for sure. And then the best improvised jazz solo. This is cool. Regina Carter is on there, and this is the one where it's just for a specific solo on a track.
I love that.
It's kind of a bogus thing.
That's so inside baseball.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically like what it should be is to give more diversity of the number of different artists that you can get in there. But we see some duplicates. So
how do they tally that? Do they they play it for the room of jazz nerds and count the woo?
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like Fred Hirsch is on for a track on there, but he's also for the album. So it's like, is he only good on that one track, or is he the whole album? Same with Brad Mehldau. So, but that's fun. I mean, you get a couple more people in there. So yeah, that'll be fun. Are you going to tune in? I think the Jazz Awards are given at like 9:45 a.m. in the pre-show.
I don't think they're yeah, exactly.
You got to get up early, West Coast time.
You can walk in there for free. There's free drinks.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be fun to hear about that. So.
Absolutely.
Well, good. I think we covered not only this week, we went into last week, and we're even going into next week, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, man. We didn't really get any questions off Facebook, though.
What?
I know.
Come on.
Got a bunch of friends. Bjorn up in here, Spencer, Joe, Anita.
Come on, y'all. You got to have some questions. Well, we're going to do that in the next episode for tomorrow anyway, right?
We'll keep it going?
I think so.
All right, let's keep going. Until then,
you'll hear it.